Serving up a warm dish of the Triad's culinary fare, here's your weekly helping of food, news, and views. This is The Man Who Ate the Town.
Hey folks, and welcome to episode 159 of the Man Who Ate the Town podcast. This is for the week of June 29th through July 5th, 2020. My name is Tim Beeman.
My name is Ray Morgan.
And I'm Leah Metz.
And we are opening the recipe box. Yeah.
There it is. It's open. Look at all the recipes.
I know. A couple fell out. We are recording this episode of the Man Who Ate the Town in my house. We are practicing social distancing and using Zoom, sponsored by Bull's Tavern. Bull's Tavern is located at 408 West 4th Street. You can watch their social media because they're not open right now because no law-abiding bars are open. There are a couple that are breaking the law, and that's not my place to call them out. I'll just let them get caught and deal with the punishment as they will. But anyway, Bull's Tavern has been working on the floor. It looks really good. And when they're allowed to open, they will. It'll be a little bit different, but they'll do what they can to accommodate. I'm going to start off by announcing that there will be no podcast next week, July 6th through the 12th for that week, as we will be celebrating an extended 4th of July weekend. And
Yay! Woo!
Yay!
Happy birthday, America!
I meant to announce that 2 weeks ago, and someone sent me an email. The podcast isn't up yet. I said, there was no podcast to have. Yeah, happy birthday, America. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So, Bonefish Grill here in Winston-Salem has closed permanently. The lease ran out, and sales had been off about 40% from last year, according to a Winston-Salem Journal article. Bloomin' Brands, who also own the Outback Steakhouse and Carrabba's Italian Grill chains, I hate that word, line of brands, they announced that in an email that the company's lease had expired, resulting in the closure, and she said all employees would receive a severance package. So that's at least good on that part. A financial update by Bloomin' Brands issued on June 11th said the company had pivoted to an off-premises sales model during the COVID-19 pandemic and had been able to triple off-premises sales while restaurant dining rooms were closed. But, you know, that being the case doesn't necessarily mean that it was profitable. It was just they were able to pivot.
We used to sell 10 of them a night, and now we sell 20, but we still don't fill up the dining room.
That's right. They're not making alcohol sales, and a lot of that came from there, I'm sure.
Right.
But even the June 6th being 40.5% off nationwide, in May, they were off 62.4%, so they had made up some ground. But still, it was just... I guess it was just time. So maybe they'll find another spot here in Winston. I don't know. It may not be now might not be the time to look for another spot. I do wish, however, they would take down the Winston-Salem Facebook page because they're still promoting everything like it was happening. And I understand it's brand wide because most of the stuff is talking about things that are nationwide, and being married to someone who did that for another global company, basically, I know what's going on, but that still they should take that page down because even though it says permanently closed, it's still promoting all this stuff. So it's trying to entice people to go to Greensboro, I understand, but people in Winston don't do that. Right or wrong, they don't do that. So.
Well, and I can tell you, we drove by Thruway yesterday, and all the signage, everything's gone off the front of the building.
They didn't play. I guess the landlords probably said, take it, we're going to put somebody else in there. Hopefully it's something good. So as we find that out, we will make sure everybody else finds out.
I want to say it gives us a perfect opportunity to put a new local restaurant. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a great spot.
It's a lot of space for a local restaurant, though, to start up. I
Depends
mean,
on what idea they bring in.
well, that's true.
Mhm.
Again, it opens up a lot of possibilities and a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe it's somebody that's expanding the operation they've already got.
could be.
I'd rather, to your point, I'd rather not see another chain come into that location. But let's use that. I mean, Three Ways always been a fantastic destination.
Yeah.
Put
It
a
is
great
a little-
local restaurant in there.
It is a little odd, that parking lot, though. Not the rest of the place, but that particular part, because I remember when that was the movie theater.
I do too.
And,
Yes.
and people were parking everywhere and having to walk around it. So it was really, it's just, I don't know. That part of the parking lot has always just befuzzled me, I guess. So, the sign for Buzzed Bull Creamery, the alcohol-laden ice cream shop on 4th Street, that will be there, has gone up. So their sign is ready. The location isn't open yet, but they are preparing, which we had a discussion about that last year, I believe, right? Or
Yep.
earlier this year, but I think it was last year. Grecian Corners Facebook page states, and I didn't tell you this morning, Leah, sorry, in our morning meeting. The Facebook page states that they will have an announcement for dine-in soon. So watch our website and the Winston-Salem Food and Beverage list for updates on that. When I went in there, not the last time, but the time before, I talked to, I don't remember her name, but the lady who's in charge of the social media there. And she was talking about, even though that restaurant is pretty good size, the way it's laid out, you could still only put maybe 20 people in there. So it was going to be weird. So the fact that they're announcing some kind of dine-in, or at least an announcement coming forthwith of an announcement, will be interesting to watch. So again, watch our website and the food and beverage list that we do for updates on that. And I'm watching for places that will be closed for July 4th. I saw only 2 places on my part of the list. 1703 Restaurant and Carmine's will be closed, at least listed on their Facebook page. In fact, Carmine's is closed from today all the way through July 9th. And here's the thing to remember, though. Traditionally, when we're not under C-19 rules, the week of July 4th is when a lot of restaurants take their collective vacations. This is especially true of international cuisine, like the Greek and Italian restaurants do that a lot. I know Delicio's used to, the Greek restaurants do. This year, I'm not sure that they will be doing that, especially with it being on a Saturday instead of in the middle of the week. We know, Leah and I do, and can attest that many, if not most, of the restaurants don't do a great job of communication via social media or even their websites about what they are doing. So I will emphatically implore that all of our listeners check with, or perhaps even call, the restaurant of your choice before you go, to make sure you won't be posting your own sad lip pictures from in front of your favorite restaurant on your social media. So just to try to make sure that you know what you're getting into when you go. For right now, anyway, that's a good idea, because some places might have to temporarily close for other reasons, C-19 or otherwise. So I would just say, for anywhere you're going, check social media or call them to see that they're open before you go. Anybody on your side that you saw that was closing for the 4th of July?
Well, there were 2, but now I can't remember who they were. And it was kind of a, yeah, we're closing and we'll let you know. And so I kind of was like, well, I'll just keep watching.
Yeah. And this is Monday, and they might not even know until Thursday that they're, let's just close. So again, make sure you call before you go, especially on Saturday, which is the 4th. And, you
Now
know,
we did.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say an opening we saw, or I saw last night. I forgot to message you about. We drove by Hops Burger Bar, and
Oh,
there were
yeah.
people sitting outside eating some food. And I was like, "Hey, they're back open!
Yeah,
Look at there!"
I did. I told you. I told
Okay,
you
well,
earlier.
and
Yeah, in a message, um, they had told
that
me that they were going to open
they
that
were
last week.
coming. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
So
that was cool.
Friday they opened back up.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's good to see people back out on that corner because it was awfully quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
A lot.
desolate.
Yeah.
It certainly was. All right, it's time for Getting in Your Business. With us today, he is the owner of the Mojito Mobile Kitchen. He is a former co-owner of Mary's Gourmet Diner, and he is the owner of the brand new, going into the same space, the Mojito Latin Soul Food Restaurant. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Mr. Michael Millan. Oh, not that one, this one. Yeah, there you go.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thrilled to have you here. Love to hear about what's going to happen.
So let's start with you were you've done the Mojito Mobile Kitchen for a while, and you were co-owner of Mary's Gourmet Diner.
Right.
So let's start there and talk about the progression of where everything's going.
So up until maybe a month and a half or so ago, it was still going to be Mary's. We had really no intention on changing it, but like everything else, I mean, it's a wild world. So we had to make some quick adjustments. And I think Mary felt that going back to what it was she was doing, and what Mary's was so famous for, wasn't going to be applicable anymore.
Right.
And it's sad, but we had a lot of those really tough conversations. And if anybody knows Mary, you know that her consideration goes towards every other person before herself.
Yes.
So she took a lot into, and she took it heavy. I mean, it wasn't, these weren't easy conversations.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think she felt like it was just her time to exit on top. And we kind of came to that together.
And that's what I said the whole time was the beauty of the way that Mary's Gourmet Diner went out wasn't, I mean, yes, it was COVID-19 related. I mean, that was, I guess, straw that broke the camel's back or whatever. But
yeah, exactly.
But the beauty of it was she did not compromise her vision of what the restaurant was. She didn't bend to become something that she wasn't going to be happy with. She didn't. She didn't allow it to not ruin her legacy or anything like that, because I don't think you or her would have allowed that to happen. But you know, what it stood for and what it was. She says, you know what? And in her video, anyway, I'm quoting the video, that she says, "This is just the time for this to happen." And she did give a lot of kudos to you and the things that you were doing there, because you really transformed the way the restaurant was. And go ahead.
We did, you know, there was a lot of stuff that Mary and I did together at the beginning to help facilitate Mary's in the right direction.
Sure.
But make no qualms about it. That was Mary's style. That was Mary's, you know, it's Mary's restaurant. I brought it into the future a little bit and helped kind of coax the business side of it along.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I never tried to neglect or take away from what that experience was supposed to be. And that was the magic behind Mary's. And that's what I really bought into. You know, yeah. I think everybody in the community has a special part of Mary's, you know, a special story, you know, like an experience. And that's something as a business investor, as a restaurateur, that was something that I was definitely looking for. And found an authenticity in Mary's that was super important. And make no mistakes, if this had never happened, if this situation never came about, and also if there wasn't a breakfast restaurant directly behind us, which I think is outlandish,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have had to make this decision. I mean, we would have just kept. Mary's was headed in a really good direction um, before any of this went down. So,
Well, and the thing that Mary wouldn't compromise on, the thing that you touched on again in your comments, it was all about the community.
mhm.
And it touched the community in a way that nothing else has. Hopefully, you'll be able to recreate some of that magic with what you're doing. But the community truly embraced Mary's in a way that it didn't just about any other restaurant in town.
that's very true. But I think it was it was an experience. Just the whole Mary's whole approach to the business was that experience. And so, as a restaurateur, I've learned a lot from her in that sense, to make everybody feel welcome, to make everybody feel, I'm more of a machine guy. I'm more of like, let's look at these numbers, let's coast, let's do this, let's pull back, I'm a maneuvers man. I have no interest in being the face of anything.
Sure.
And so I learned a lot of that approach being at Mary's for the 2 years that I was there as an owner.
It was a nice partnership. What she doesn't do, you just thrive in, and
Yeah.
vice versa. So you both had a chance to learn from each other.
That's right. Yeah.
And it allowed her to at the same time be more the personality, and to actually still pull back and have time with her grandbabies, which we all know is very, very important
That was
to her.
that was
Yeah.
the goal. And I think through this whole transition, one of my main goals was to make sure that, we could close the restaurant. But after COVID, what is the value of a restaurant? What is the value of the idea of a restaurant, and a restaurant that thrives on an idea? So these were really complicated questions that we had to dive into, because the other part that I would never neglect is the ethics behind business, and that this wasn't Mary's fault, and that she should be able to still have a living, to still make a living while we have this transitional period. So we took a lot of this stuff into account when we decided how we were going to approach this, because one of my big concerns is that Mary doesn't just walk away from this with nothing.
Right.
So that's
Because she didn't build it to have
a big
nothing.
part of my decision. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. And also, man, you're talking about a big restaurant, an institution in the neighborhood. Like this is somebody who's really put her money where her mouth is. And so, as a business person, I had to do the same thing and step up for her.
So I have to know, did you get any of the art that was in the restaurant?
I did. I got a piece from Zap that's actually going to go in the restaurant. It's the flying pig.
Okay.
And it was, for obvious reasons, that was my favorite one. And it's a beautiful piece, man. I really cherish it. But Madison Haglund, Mary's grandson, did an art show a while back. I want to say it was like last summer. And I bought a couple of pieces from him and hung those in the restaurant. So those are staying because one says spicy and the other one's a lemon. So we're gonna rock out with that. Mary's portrait, I'm keeping that in the restaurant for sure.
Awesome.
So yeah, there's definitely a lot of artwork that's making the transition. There's some really cool artwork that's going up for Mojito. We're gonna have three older ladies smoking cigars in the bottom dining room, and it's being painted in like a tobacco brown. And that's a local tattoo artist who's going to be doing that for us. So we're super excited.
So is the artists themselves, are they Latino?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So keeping with the theme, keeping with all that, that's awesome.
Yeah. And as we move along with the art, we'll post the artists, we'll post some of the progression of the art. I'm not a big I'm not a big social media person. I'm really low key. I like to keep my privacy and kind of move about. But I I'm excited about kind of the transition, the look of the restaurant. You know, Artomat is Clark Whittington is hooking us up with a new Artomat that kind of fits our style. The Artomat that was at Mary's, the original Artomat, which is, you know, a piece of history of Winston-Salem, is actually going to be at
Carrabba's, yeah.
with Daniel Butner. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm super
Daniel,
excited about
Daniel
that.
showed me, showed a picture. He says, I'm getting this.
Yeah. I love it, man.
Awesome.
Daniel's one of my favorite people in town. We're really good friends.
Yeah.
And for him to have that and to have the photograph and the article that goes along with it, I mean, that's history, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's talk now.
I would say I do want to encourage you to continue to post pictures and videos of what y'all are doing, because we want to share the story with you. We want to watch that creation, because
I appreciate that.
there's a lot of us that are very excited about what you're going to be doing there. And we really want to feel like we're still a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm continuing on with my work in my community. I do a lot of work with Second Harvest Food Bank. I do, you know, as much as I really can to promote things within my community. And that's the type of stuff that makes me really proud, because I have no intention on ever living in Florida again.
Yeah.
Like, I love Winston-Salem like a lot.
It's a lot better here, isn't it?
So much better. Jeez.
Hands down. You know what? It strikes me when people in Winston complain about traffic.
Oh man, I have no complaints about traffic. Listen, if you sit in a car and stare at the building you have to be in, and it takes you 2 hours to get there, that's called a nightmare. That's my least favorite place in Florida. And asphalt is hot, man. Blacktop's hot.
When it's already hot, it just gets worse.
Yeah.
I'm just not built for Miami, let's be honest.
I graduated college in Miami. I didn't go to school in Miami, but that's where the graduation was. And this was in 2012, and getting from the hotel to the I forget the Hyatt something. It was one of the big convention things. Took us about an hour and something to get there, and the people encroaching upon you. You know, we were in a taxi, because I certainly wasn't going to drive that. But people encroaching. The only place I've ever seen it worse than that is Paris.
Yeah, I've been there too, and the traffic is ruthless, and people will run you over.
Yes.
But I mean, Hialeah, where I grew up, Hialeah is like, that's the place, man. You're minding your business, walking down the street, and there's 50 people flying at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's traffic too. Like, there's just traffic on regular side streets in the neighborhood. Traffic. It's everywhere. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that.
No. So let's now talk about the Mojito Latin Soul Food Restaurant.
Right on.
So you had the Mojito Mobile Kitchen, which is I guess a Cubano based, inspired, themed, food truck or trailer.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And how long have you done that?
So that started in 2017. So that would have been, we're in year 3 now. And that was fun. I mean, I started as a straight Cuban, you know, to the bones type place. And I felt kind of like stuck in that.
Yeah.
So when we decided to do the restaurant, I definitely wanted to expand a little bit and do more Caribbean influenced food, you know, that sort of Latin American type stuff that I was raised on.
Yeah.
That's not just Cuban. So we're not just stuck doing Cuban food. But
yes,
there's a heavy influence on Cuban food.
When you are in a truck, your inventory, your space, your availability is very limited. So you have to pinpoint what your theme is, and you have to run with it. Whereas this allows you to expand into pretty much whatever you want.
Yeah, and I mean at the time when we started Mojito Mobile, it was the only, like, outside of Mexican food, it was the only Latino food in town.
Sure.
I think Miami Cafe was kind of towards the end of their run there, and I'd eaten there a couple of times, and it wasn't like it for me. It wasn't really Cuban food. It was kind of all over the board.
I didn't like it.
I wasn't a huge fan. Now, granted, I only went there twice, but it was a little too much for me.
Yeah.
But we're doing something. We're kind of expanding on Mojito Mobile, but we're doing something a little bit different. One thing I don't want people to do is feel uncomfortable with the food. And for 3 years, I've seen people just kind of stare at the menu and they're like, it's daunting.
Yeah.
So what we started doing was explaining everything in English. And we're taking that approach on the new menu. We're doing the menu in English. It's very approachable, very easy to understand. And then in parentheses next to the menu item, we'll put the Spanish name if it applies.
Sure.
But that's more of our mode. We want people to feel super comfortable. We want this to be a neighborhood hangout and for people to just enjoy a different food.
Well, we have talked about on this show and on blog posts and everything where this town is fantastic for wanting a plethora of choices until they get it and they don't want to go experience it.
They got to support it.
Yeah, because they're afraid of it once they get it. We need this. We need that. We need this. I'm not going there. That's as much as I love Winston, I love its food community. Sometimes the general public gets on my nerves, and that's that's just with everybody.
I think that's a super valid point, and as opposed to hitting that head on and trying to like bust through a wave, I'm trying to take a more subtle approach. I've been here for a long time too, man. I've been here for a decade.
Okay.
And so I started on 4th Street at Rana Loca trying to figure out how to get Latin food that's not just Mexican across to, predominantly white crowd.
Sure.
And so I've had a lot of experience with both positive and negative with things. Let me give you a quick story, a really positive story, because I like to keep things kind of.
Absolutely. This is your time. You talk about what you want.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So when we first started Mojito, we were at in Kernersville, there's a big brewery, the Brewer's Kettle.
Mm-hmm.
So we were at the Brewer's Kettle. First time we'd ever been there. I didn't really go to Kernersville much. And there was like a couple of issues with our menu being sort of unapproachable. We were having to answer a lot of questions. And we had this one customer who was from Miami who kept coming to the bus. And she said, my husband wants to offer you some advice. And I was like, what's that? She goes, he loves at the time we were calling the Cuban Deluxe La Preparada, which is a type of Cuban sandwich that has croquetas in it.
Mm-hmm.
But we make a bigger version with extra pork and extra cheese and all kinds of good stuff. And it's basically a Cuban. She says, my husband says, call it the Cuban Deluxe. And I was like, okay. We changed the menu. We changed just the whole thing, because we had a bunch of corrections to make for things that were just, people weren't understanding them. Called it the Cuban Deluxe. We went from selling like 6 in a month to selling about 80 to 100 a month.
Yeah.
Because it was more approachable. People kind of looked at it and were like, well, Cuban Deluxe. That means it's bigger than the regular Cuban. Let me take a look at the ingredients.
Yeah.
And so just those little nuanced things. We've had a lot of time to learn these things and be able to make those adjustments.
It's all about the presentation, right?
It's all about the presentation. Yeah. And I think it's also about being less direct and hard about things and being able to adjust and to mold, because I think we're so like polarized right now, obviously, that everybody just wants to fight everybody else's idea. And we're taking a way different approach. We're taking like that crazy middle ground that everybody refuses to be in. And we're going to adapt to everything that everybody, kind of gives us criticism on. And that's our approach.
And so I'm curious, when you walk in the front door, what's my experience going to be?
I think you're gonna settle into something that you're not used to seeing. Kind of a little more style, a little things are gonna be a little like chic but toned down. It's gonna be kind of like being in Miami.
So I'm going to be real comfortable in casual clothes coming in.
Oh, super casual, super casual. I mean, this is gonna be food that's served in mostly compostable, takeout, ware type things. I mean, we're taking a really homey, approach to this. Very inexpensive. Um, we're trying to give everybody as much as we can for their dollar because we know that's important right now. And taking care of good quality and making sure that we use products that are mostly from around us as much as we can. But we're not we're not gonna blow our own horn and tell everybody we use 1,000,001 different urban farmers and we pet the bees before we're like we're the middle of the road, man.
Nice beef.
That's a nice little bee.
At the end of the day, I'm still slinging pork.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what you were saying there, you're going to have your retractors that are saying, well, this is not authentic if you're not putting it in Spanish, but you're going to have it in Spanish. It's just not going to
Yeah.
be the focus
Yeah.
thing because, again, people are fickle over the most frivolous of things.
They do. They randomly grab onto something and they go after that. But look, at the end of the day, we're gonna let the food speak for itself. You're gonna
Absolutely.
taste it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna want to come back. It's gonna be a friendly environment. You're not gonna feel overwhelmed. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for we're instead of like only taking our hardcore crowd that loves Cuban food and only speaks Spanish and all this other stuff. We're taking a more open approach to it, and we're allowing everybody to experience it.
Well, I personally enjoy Cuban food. What I've had, I like, Jamaican food. I like a lot of the Caribbean stuff like you were talking about. And I look forward to what you're going to do over there. Are you going to continue to do the mobile kitchen as well, or is this the end of that?
So you'll see the truck around for sure at like big food truck events and that kind of stuff. But I'll be honest with you, the timing on all this is sort of perfect for us because running a food truck is rough.
Oh yeah.
It's not easy, and to keep we've had it out for between 3 and 4 days a week on average. But there's some weeks that we're out 5 days a week. That's not easy work, and then running a restaurant on top of that. So I'm kind of looking forward to putting it to bed for a little while.
Yeah.
To be able to focus on this expansion and kind of see where this takes us and hope for the best. But it's still going to be around. I mean, that thing is built for war.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work out of that thing.
Well, it does allow you to continue to offer a catering service with a mobile kitchen.
For sure. And like I said, when the big venues open back up, Southern Charm on the Farm, things like that we love being at, we'll definitely hit those up. I mean, we do enjoy the food truck. We do have fun on it, and we've made some great connections on it. But
It's just a
hot out
beast.
there.
It's just a beast. Yeah.
It's a beast, man.
Does that give you an opportunity to train somebody else up and let them kind of take over running that for a while?
We have employees that are efficient at running the truck. We don't worry about them. So as far as like getting a call for a catering that somebody wants it, we're good to go. I mean, it's easy. It's really easy to run. I designed it. The ticket times are between 8 and 12 minutes. It's designed for a certain type of flow. It's designed for a certain type of food. And I mean, we can really we've had days where I just look at my wife and I'm like, I don't even know how to explain how much money we made today. Like this was those big venues, man. It's just nonstop. You're exhausted, but it's incredible the income that you can generate from 18 feet of space.
Well, you don't go into business just to do everything half-ass. You go in there to make money, and you want to work hard. There's a difference between just being exhausted and being good exhausted because you had a good day.
Yeah, I tell people that my artist spectrum is really low. Like I'm good with food, but I look at food like a technician. I'm putting parts together. I'm making certain things happen because technically I know the science, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a big art is sort of foreign to me in that sense. Like I'm just I know how to put things together, run a line. I can, you know, sort of, I don't lose my cool very often. You know, it's not something that happens with me. So I just call myself a technician. I'm not there for like the pictures and the fun times. You know, I'm there for the end of day sales report.
Yeah, of course. Leah, you've been awfully quiet. You have any questions?
Oh, I'm excited. Um, what's so when I come and eat there, what's going to be the thing that I need to make sure that I have that you're going to have on the menu?
So it depends on the experience you're looking for. We're trying to we're doing some small plates. So
Okay.
you can kind of sample a bunch of different things, and then we'll have some heavier items. We'll have a large sandwich section that has burger, sandwich, you know. But we're not just doing an American burger. We're doing the frita from Miami, which we run a bunch of times as a special in the truck, and it's, you know, those little sort of hints towards Miami and the Caribbean. Those are the type of things. Now our heavy dishes, we're going to be pulling out all the stuff that people were really begging for in the truck for us to, you know, keep doing. We're going to do a quarter chicken, you know, whole chicken roasted or fried. Um, you know, sort of like if you're familiar with this goofy little restaurant in Miami called Pollo Tropical, they did one thing. It was just chicken. They throw it on a grill and they get it nice and crispy and delicious. But it was soaking in mojo for like probably a day, 2 days, and it's just unbelievable, over the top delicious. You get it. It's like falling off the bone, tons of flavor. So we're doing those dishes. We're doing a fried steak, bistec empanizado, and we use saltine as the breading. You know, like a finely ground saltine, so it's like crispy like a cracker.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a hand cut sirloin, pounded out real thin, fried steak with rice and beans and plantains. I mean, it's super delicious stuff. You gotta be ready for war when you come into my restaurant, because we do nothing for health food. Like we
Oh.
have vegetarian dishes, but they're all heavy. Like they're all big boy stuff. So.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to go ahead and say it here. I think that the three of us need to come and do an official tasting with you once everything's ready to be able to report back and
Absolutely.
promote.
Down. Listen, I'll invite you guys to the private tasting that we do as we develop the menu once we have the restaurant sort of ready to go. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. Yes.
Love to.
We
Absolutely love to.
Yeah.
and we will promote the ever loving crap out of it. We are excited. For one, we are very happy to see this space being utilized, because just the location and everything has a place in all of our hearts and the entire town's hearts. So
Yeah.
we are all pulling for you. One, because we know of what you were involved in the last days of the beloved Mary's Gourmet Diner, and that we just love what you do anyway. And you're a great guy. Daniel talks highly of you as well. You mentioned him earlier.
I love Daniel.
He says
he's great.
he says I love that man. So it's we certainly want this to succeed. We want all restaurants to succeed, but we, and even today, we have enjoyed getting to know you and what you're doing more, and we want to get behind, or at least I do, and I'm sure I'm speaking for the other two, that we want to be behind you and what you're doing, and to push and promote and get people
Well, I
to
appreciate
open
that
their
it's still in the family.
yeah
You know,
yeah
you know that
I appreciate that.
Mary's passing this down to you, and she
Yeah.
gave you her vision of what a restaurant should do for its community, and she's touched so many people here in this area. I think she's left some long, lingering fingerprints, um, and I'm just excited to see what you're going to do with this, because it sounds to me like comfort food. Tell me I'm wrong, but
It's
it's a
no, it
Cuban
is
comfort food.
definitely comfort food. I mean, you know, it's Latin soul food. I mean, it's
Yeah.
stuff that you know, we always talk about the meals we had growing up that made us feel good, and this is across the board. This is the stuff that I ate growing up that made me feel good. That's consistent. It's consistent food that you can come in and every time you have it, you get that same feeling, you know.
Okay, so I know this is the taboo question because it's always like picking my favorite kid and all that stuff. What's going to be on this new menu? What is going to be your favorite, at least up front, meal? Like Leah, I think, was asking what should she try? What would you have if you were going in today to this restaurant, knowing all that you know about it? What would you order?
So one big thing that I always felt kind of bad about on the food truck was there's a big difference between chicharrón and pork rind. And chicharrón is the pork belly that's like crispied up in a pan over time, you know, sort of slowly fried almost as you know, and there's meat chunks on it, and it's served with the original mojito sauce that I grew up eating, which is a garlic-based sauce with parsley and cilantro and citrus. And it's our signature sauce on the truck. But just being on a truck is not conducive to making that type of deliciousness. And I always avoided it, and people hated me for it. I avoided having chicharrón on the truck because I just couldn't do it right. So now at the restaurant, we're going to have the perfect chicharrón served with mojito sauce and a little wedge of lime. And that is the perfect snack with a nice beer, you know, light beer, a little Latin style pork rind done in pork fat, you know, the real stuff. And that's one I know it's simple and I know it's basic, but I got so much flack for that on the truck, just on a regular basis. So I can't wait to do it.
It doesn't have to be fancy to be fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's not fancy, but it's hard to pull off in a truck because you just can't get the temperature right. You can't get you've got the truck moving. It's just a mess. And so I never mess with it because I couldn't get it right. And that's something that I have. It's in my heart is probably what's going to stop my heart either way. In my heart, that's what I eat. That's what I love, man. Is that this just like crispy on the outside, soft pork belly, oozing grease, you know, a squeeze of citrus. What? That's perfect, man.
Yeah.
You did mention that you would recommend doing that with a beer. Are you going to have that kind of stuff available for us?
Oh, for sure. So we are definitely, we have a beer and wine license as it stands. So we're going to have beer and wine, but we're working on a new bar. We're building out on the top dining room to have a nice little bar, nothing extravagant. But we're going to have mojitos because at some point, you know, I got to live up to this.
Yeah.
Everybody's always like on the truck is like, oh, do you have mojitos like the drink? And I'm like, no, do you see gold around my neck? So maybe you'll start seeing me investing in like gold, maybe some teeth, you know, a couple of bracelets.
Well, you can grow the mint out back, right?
Oh, for sure. We're actually doing that. All those beds that are out there, we're going to load them up with mint. All types of different types of mint. There's like pineapple mint and chocolate mint and all these different things. Yes. And we're going to figure out ways to use those in the mojito beverages. Yeah, like as specials. Kind of like what I did with the mimosas at Mary's, where we used you know, different types of bingo bango and then match that with different styles of doing dried fruit preserves. Different stuff like that. Those sold really well. So we're gonna take that same sort of concept and attach it to the mojitos beverage.
Yeah. And what Michael does over at Bingo Bango is awesome too.
Oh man, that guy is something else, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. He's now in the same building that I am because I'm down the street from you guys.
Right on.
Yeah. So
nice.
I'm not right now. I'm at my house, but the studio is on North Chestnut, right above where you guys are.
Okay, cool.
So, Ray, Leah, do you have any other questions?
What's our time frame?
We're shooting for the middle of August. We feel that's pretty reasonable. We might not have the bar finished, but we're going to open for food either way because that's what's important.
Awesome.
I'm just ready to eat. So
yeah.
All this talk. Let's shut up and eat
already. You did say you're not the big social media guy, but where are we going to find you on the net? Are we finding you on Facebook? Is there a place to kind of watch the story?
Yeah, there's going to be
the man who ate the town.
There's going to be a transition. There's going to be a transition from Mary's on Facebook. We're getting that worked out from an IT standpoint. I'm not that savvy. I'm not that tech savvy. But Sam's helping us out with that. And so there's you'll start seeing stuff pop up, and definitely, Tim, if you want to, I'll keep you in the loop and let you know what's going on, and have you guys kind of check it out, scope it out,
Absolutely.
as we make some progress.
Yeah, please
I'll
do.
tell you, it's not that I have, I have sort of like almost an aversion to social media. It's not. It's just ingrained in my personality. It's
Yeah.
not that I don't know how,
Yeah.
or that I'm not aware. I mean, I really do have the knowledge to do my own marketing and stuff like that. I just don't do it. It's
That
the strangest affliction.
that and time. You should spend more time
Yeah.
making your product better and let somebody else handle making it seen.
Yeah, for sure. And I just that's something that I think Michelle and I feels very important moving forward, because I mean, I'm a quiet guy just by my general demeanor is to just kind of stay to myself. Like this whole
Yeah, but the restaurant can't
pandemic
afford
was
to be
not.
quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
And
I
that's the
know.
thing.
But
We
this
Restaurant
pandemic
has to
was
make
sort
a
of
big
easy for me.
noise.
I just kind of like
and
crept in the
we're
back and
and we're
hung out on
not
the
asking
farm.
we're not asking you to put Michael out there. We're asking you to put
Yeah,
Chef Michael out there.
yeah, yeah. See, that's a hard distinction for me too, because it's kind of like I'm always that guy. Like I just it's
Yeah.
just who I am. I like being in the back of the house. I like, I'm sort of the quiet driving force.
Yeah.
That's how
Well,
I've always sort of been that way.
it's also part of the Cuban personality, right? As a
Yeah,
nationality, you know,
yeah,
there
we're
it's a very vibrant community,
yeah,
and
but it's funny because I'm sort of like the quietest one in my family. My family is full of just obnoxiously loud. Like I moved to North Carolina mostly because their personalities were too big for me to be in Miami at the same time. So I had to be like, I gotta go somewhere else. You guys are out of your minds. But I moved my grandmother up here about a year and a half, 2 years ago, um, which was a great decision because she's somebody who keeps me like, just like Michelle, my wife. She's my business partner for a reason. But my grandmother keeps me in line. So it's like having her up here. Like, I got enough space for your ego now. Let's go ahead and slowly bring you up here.
That's
that's awesome.
Nice.
So one last question I have about the food itself, and you mentioned incorporating other Caribbean flavors and stuff. What kind of Caribbean flavors are we talking about adding? I'm
So
really, like I said, I'm really
definitely,
interested in in the
yeah.
scale and the spectrum, but I really want to try the Cuban part because that is your personality. But I'm a fan of all those cuisines, and I would like to see a place like you're going to do that will incorporate much more than that.
So we're definitely going like all over the Caribbean. We're hitting Mexico. We're hitting Puerto Rico. We're hitting the Dominican Republic, Haiti. Um, so a quick little bit about myself. I started really young in restaurants and hotels in Miami. The Biltmore Hotel in Coral Gables was where I really got my chops. Um, and I worked with mostly guys from everywhere but the United States. Um, and so there was a lot of mixing of culture and ideas in these hotels, in these kitchens. And it's sort of incredible. I mean, it goes everywhere from the Caribbean isn't like the only place these guys are from. These guys are from the Middle East. They're from just kind of spread all across the world. So you get a lot of cool knowledge. Um, you get to try things you wouldn't normally try. And this is usually at like family meal with a bunch of guys who barely speak English. So you're just trying to keep up.
Yeah.
Um, and they're always better cooks than anyone else you've ever met. Like these dudes are mercenaries in the kitchen. So, I was a kid when I started in the big leagues in Miami. Like it's not an easy place to, to start your profession. And I went to Johnson and Wales for 4 years, so I was exposed to a lot of really good talent, um, and a lot of ideas and concepts and flavor that you wouldn't normally get anywhere else. So I'm bringing a lot of that to the table. I'm really inspired by the Caribbean, the Mexican Caribbean side. Um, a lot of their seafood styles really intrigue me. The way they prepare seafood, the limited amount of ingredients that they use in their production of seafood. So that's our ceviche is going to be sort of a nod to that.
That was getting ready to ask if there was going to be ceviche, because I love ceviche. I had it in
sure.
Costa Rica, and I loved it there.
Yeah. And then, like we play around with street corn. We did a mojito version of street corn elote. So there's just we're kind of all over the place with the Latin food. We'll have fufu and mofongo, which are mashed plantain dishes. One's Cuban, one's Puerto Rican. So there's gonna be a lot of cool stuff that you don't get to see often, and it's mostly because you don't understand what it is. So if you're reading it in your native tongue, it makes more sense to you. You know, that's just kind of, I think, a no-brainer.
But I like that you're not abandoning the Spanish iterations of them too, because I'm an American and I speak English, yes, but I like to, unlike some Americans, I like to include the culture of which it came, from which it came, for I can try the stuff and feel not the authentic thing. I don't like that term, because I mean, food is food. It's authentic. It's authentically food.
I mean,
but traditionally true. I like that aspect of it as well. So I'm glad that
we're definitely sticking. We're definitely sticking to that traditional preparation. You know, the way things have always been done is good. You know, that's what gives it its distinct Cubanness, or its distinct Puerto Ricanness, or its distinct, Haitianness. So we're gonna stick with those elements. We're not gonna cross a lot of things. You know, you're gonna know something is done by me because it's done in mojito style, not because it's done, in a way that a Cuban would prepare something.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm hanging my hat on. That I'm just kind of a better technical cook than most. And so this food's gonna be delicious. Whether you are one of those people that's gonna beat me over the head with the virtue stick of where I came from and who I am, because I'm not aware of that. That's up to you, But the fact of the matter is gonna be hard to be like, well, with a mouthful of this delicious food, you're not very Cuban. Yeah.
Well, you're meoning enough that it doesn't matter where that stuff. So
I'm super Cuban. Like I'm a, if you really know me, you know that there's a lot of pride for where I come from, but I don't necessarily make it about me. I make it about the food.
Sure.
So
and that's what makes I think good restaurant owners. Yeah, I mean, you have a focus on the food, but it's not about you. It's about the food.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's not super hard to figure out why some people kind of make it and some people don't. It's based on your talent, your craft. That's what people show up for. They don't show up for, hey, Mike's here, let's hang out with him.
Yeah.
They show up because the food's delicious.
Yeah.
It's a nice quiet place where I can get a full belly, nice beverage.
But it doesn't hurt that they want to see you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask.
Well, yeah, but we also, we like the food, but we also like personality in our food. And Brittany McGee said it on our podcast the most. You can taste when there is not love in the food. Love is an ingredient, sure. And if you are not fully behind and fully invested in the idea of what you're doing, we will taste it. And that says something about the chef, is when we know that we can tell that this was made with love, as opposed to this was thrown together so they can make $1.
Yeah, for sure. But that's, coming from like a 10th degree black belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Be honest, she's pretty friggin' talented.
There is truth to that.
Yeah.
But I think she's right that, we look at the food that we consume that's just made by machines, and then you wonder, what am I doing? What am I eating? Is this really the best food for me? And then I hear, like what you're planning on. I'm thinking, now I can get it made by a machine, or I can get that.
Good for you though. Yeah, but listen, it's not good for you. Look, I make no qualms about the quality of my food, but I also make no qualms that this is gonna be, you're coming into like, big boy batter's average, like you got to be ready to put your work boots on and eat some food.
Yeah.
Because it's not dainty, it's not, it's not light food, it's not diet food. Like I'm going all in. I'm telling people out of the gate, like I am cooking with lard. I'm doing things with grease. Like we're not playing around here.
Good.
And I think people, listen, I won't get into my own personal views of health because I don't think I'm unhealthy. But according to everything I've ever read or seen on TV, I'm super overweight, right? So I think like it's time for people to just understand that this isn't your everyday meal. This is your treat to yourself.
Yeah.
This is something that you come to enjoy. But
and maybe it's a late lunch and you don't eat dinner because it was such a big meal.
For sure. You know what I mean? Or you take something for home later.
Exactly.
Don't be so like, don't get in mind mix. I'm not your doctor.
Yeah. I showed it off last
just about
week.
Giving good food.
I showed it off last week.
That's it.
Leah saw it, and then Friday Ray saw it. My son got me a T-shirt for Father's Day, and it says, "If fat is flavor, I'm fucking delicious."
Yeah, that's right. I like to tell people I'm definitely in shape because round is a shape.
Round is a shape. I use that too. Yes.
Yep.
So, Michael, few minutes left here. Do you have anything else you want people, our listeners, to know about Michael Millan, about Mojito, Latin soul food, or anything else?
I think I just want people to know that we're looking to be positive, to stay positive for the future. We know things aren't just going to go back to normal. We're not being silly about it. We're not like confusing ourselves about what's the reality. But I think what a lot of people are trying to express right now is be kind, be patient with us. If we don't open the day we said we're going to open, we'll get to it. These are weird times and things are complicated. So I think if anything, I would just like for people to know that we're going to do our absolute best to make a perfect product, but be patient with us and be kind with us.
Absolutely. Well, Michael Millan, thank you so very much for being here with us, talking about Mary's and the Mojito Mobile Kitchen and Mojito Latin Soul Food. We appreciate everything you're doing. We cannot wait to try your wares when you get to just spread your wings and be all that you can be. And we're here for you if you need anything. If you have any announcements or anything like that, just give me a heads up and we can get you on, or we can do an interview. We can do whatever you need to do. We're here for you.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys' support, and we're looking forward to it. And I can't wait for you guys to be a part of it, for the tasting, for all that good stuff.
Well, we're certainly there. Thank you again, Michael Millan.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. So thank you again to Michael Millan for being here with us. I am very excited about this concept.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't
really impressed.
I just am looking so forward to trying the food because I don't like the term ethnic food. I like international cuisine. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he is going Cuban and otherwise really excites me. So that is something I'm very much looking forward to.
Well, and my experience with Cuban food is it is not Mexican food.
No.
But it is really, really good. Oh, yeah. I've never had anything that I didn't enjoy.
I believe when we were, I mentioned us being in Miami in 2012, we had Cuban, right, Stephanie? That night? Yeah, we had.
I'll say if you didn't, you missed out.
Oh yeah, we really enjoyed it. What we had. This is a week prior to finding out I needed heart surgery. So, yeah, so I was in a little bit of pain. However, the food was fantastic. So, sorry to bring that down real quick.
Hey, Debbie Downer. Let's talk about something fun.
Let's talk about some food holidays. How about that?
That's fun.
Today is the 29th, and it's National Almond Butter Crunch Day.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Did you bring some?
I did not. I failed to bring that. It's also something that you could probably get into now, Ray, after your birthday. It's Waffle Iron Day.
Ooh, you know what? I had some this weekend.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Whitney's like, what do you want for breakfast? I want
waffles.
waffles.
And he didn't waffle on that either.
I did not.
There was no
I held
waffling.
firm. No. There were waffles on my plate, and they were waffled down.
Oh, yeah. They were waffed.
That was really good. Thank you very much.
On the 29th, in 1875, Gilpin Moore of Rock Island, Illinois, received a patent for a two-wheel sulky plow, a riding plow which allows the driver to sit and plow and accurately set the plow depth. I don't know why they call it a sulky plow.
No idea.
I don't either.
Didn't mention anything about GPS features, though.
No, they did not. Or Sirius XM radio.
I mean, come on now. That and some air conditioning, like an umbrella, something. Come on
yes.
now.
Yeah, that Hardin Harmon sound system and all that. Yeah, that's what they
Yeah.
In 1943, General Eisenhower requested that Coca-Cola provide 10 portable bottling plants for U.S. troops overseas.
Okay.
Okay. Have a Coke and an army.
Yeah. Well, 12 years later on the same day, then President Eisenhower signed the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, a network of 41,000 miles of limited access roads. The interstate system was planned to link 90% of cities with populations over 50,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And we still
It was a
enjoy
way to
those
move
roads.
military hardware.
It was. And, the rules are there in case you have to have every so many miles, you have to have so long of a straight stretch in case planes need to land.
Interesting.
Yes.
Oh.
So if you'll notice when you're driving anywhere on an interstate, every so often you have to have a long stretch of road that is a straight stretch. In
Learning something new every day.
there you go.
That explains why that right before you go through the real curvy parts on I-40 going into Tennessee,
Yeah.
that there's that nice long straight stretch.
Yes.
And then there's like 30 miles of winding interstate.
Yeah. In 1966, the Barclay card was introduced by Barclays Bank, the first credit card in Britain, which seems mighty late because it was, 16 years prior to that the Diners Club card started in America. In 2005, on the 29th, the USDA confirmed the first domestic case of mad cow disease. It had only been slightly perturbed prior to that.
It was generally happy before that.
Yeah. It went perturbed to pissed off to just complete mad.
Mad, I tell you.
Okay, so this has a lot of this little tidbit I'm about to give you has a lot of meaning to me. In 2007, the animated movie Ratatouille opened in U.S. theaters. The story is about a rat who can cook, who befriends a young kitchen worker at a famous restaurant. I love the movie. I love the movie so much, it was the inspiration for me becoming a foodie. It was the inspiration for me being a food blogger. A food blogger. It was my inspiration of doing a food podcast. And I have a very dear friend of mine who says that's disgusting. He said, a rat got you interested in food. That's so stupid and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, it had nothing to do with the rat. The idea that it took so much thought to be creative in the kitchen and the how the things work together, the smelling, the tasting, the seasoning, all the ideas that went into it, as maybe intricately woven into that storyline. And it may have been trivial to many, but to me, it piqued my interest to become more of a food person. That's why I enjoy cooking. It's why I enjoy what I do with this blog and this podcast. So Ratatouille, ladies and gentlemen, is the inspiration for me being the man who ate the town. Yeah.
Now we know the rest of the story.
And now we know the rest of the story.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
the Walt Disney World or Walt Disney animation changed your life.
It did. And that wasn't the first time, but that was probably the most provocative time.
You know, I saw that not long ago for the first time.
It's
We
a
were
great
sitting
movie.
Here going, we're going to watch. Hey, there's Ratatouille. Have you watched that? No, let's watch that. Yeah,
Well
it was a great
done.
movie.
Yeah, well done. Patton Oswalt doing Remy, and it was just, Janine Garofalo and a couple other folks. It's just really, really well done.
Well, and some great storylines and great concepts behind it of the, you know, even the outsider, even the guy who's a rat
Yeah,
can have something to offer in the kitchen.
that we can all do. Anybody can cook. So, you know, basically the theme of the story was anybody. Yes, anybody can
Leah's
cook.
like, no.
No.
So, some of us might not
Even
want
you.
to, but you can.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wanting to and doing it are two different things. So on the 30th, it's National Mai Tai Day. I am a fan of sweet, fruity drinks, and I'm not afraid to say it. So I like a good Mai Tai. I like strong, stiff drinks as well, but I like the fruity ones as well.
Why not? They're
Well,
all tasty.
That's right. My favorite
And
flavor
your
alcohol
favorite flavor of alcohol is
is alcohol.
alcohol.
Oh.
In 1845, on the 30th, Peter Cooper of New York received a patent for an improved method to make gelatin. It consists in, is what the patent said, consists in making a transparent, concentrated, or solidified jelly containing all the ingredients fitting for a table use in a portable form and requiring only the addition of prescribed quantity of hot water to dissolve it, when it may be poured into glasses or molds, and then when cold will be fit for use. So that is, whenever I read this entry on today, it also had next to it Jell-O facts. So that is exactly what Jell-O is. Gelatin and Jell-O is not necessarily the same thing, but that is exactly how it goes. In 1862, James Spratt of Cincinnati, Ohio, developed the first processed commercial dog food called Spratt's Patent Meat Fibrine Dog Cakes.
That does not sound.
You know, it's about
Good
the
at all.
presentation.
Yeah, yeah. Why,
What are you going to call this?
Yeah, why and why? Back then, you know, they had a lot of really long names for things. It was made of wheat, beetroot, vegetables, and beef blood.
Okay. Well then.
Well.
Lovely, isn't it? In 1906, the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906 and the Meat Inspection Act were signed into law by Teddy Roosevelt. It prohibited the sale of adulterated or mislabeled food and drug products, adulterated or misbranded livestock and derived products, and ensured that livestock was slaughtered and processed under sanitary conditions. Prior to that, you just got what you got.
We needed that. We still need that.
Yeah, we need it even more now.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want no pissed off cows, that's for sure.
No.
In 1936, Congress approved the 40-hour work week.
Now if we can just get the 20-hour work week.
Yeah, we need to approve that. On the 1st of July, it's Early Bird Day with no explanation as to what that means. It's it's
It happened early in the month, so
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, it's an early bird day.
Should have been on January 1st.
It should have been. It should have been. You're right.
Right? Come on now.
It's
Unless
also
you're talking fiscal years, because July is the beginning of a fiscal
that's
year.
true. That's true too. Wow, you're on it today, sir.
That's once a year. Once a year it happens.
It's the early
I'll get
bird
over
day.
it. Don't worry.
It's early bird day.
It is early bird day. a little early.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's also National Ginger Snap Day and Creative Ice Cream Flavors Day. So that spinach omelet flavored ice cream that we've all been asking for, maybe the day we have it.
okay. You know, that's what we used to be able to do every year at the Big Chill. I don't know if they're going to do it this year, but
Yeah.
yeah, there were always creative flavors out there for that. What's the weirdest flavor you've ever had?
Of ice cream,
Yeah.
pimento cheese.
Mm.
And that was when it was still a fresh concept. Now a lot of places do that. But I just want salted caramel or vanilla. Just that's all I need.
Cumberland Cafe that used to exist in town used to do a basil ice cream that was so good.
I could see where that'd be great.
So good.
I mean, mint
Yeah.
works. Why not basil?
Well, one of the varieties is sweet basil. So yeah, it works very well in ice cream. I was amazed at how good it was.
Basically, it's anise or licorice flavored ice cream at that point. Because I think that
Somebody muted themselves.
yeah, no, I was getting a call. But yeah, so what was I saying? It's basically licorice or anise flavored ice cream at that point, because that's what, to me, basil tastes like. It tastes like the anise flavor. So
Interesting. Yeah, I don't experience it more towards that end of the scale, but I love basil.
Yeah.
We've got some growing out back. Now I'm going to go find some ice cream.
let me know how that goes. On the 1st in 1910, Ward Baking Company of Chicago, Illinois, opened the first completely automated bread plant in the United States. In 1916, on the 1st, Coca-Cola started using their new contoured bottle to stay ahead of the competition. In 1953, Cheese Whiz was introduced nationwide by Kraft, and even though my wife is sitting about 15 feet to my right, I will say out loud, I love Cheese Whiz, and I really do. I don't eat it, so I'm also saying that out loud. I don't eat it, but I do like it a lot.
Just waiting for the shoe to come into the fray.
Yeah. She's not thrown anything at me yet, so
Yeah.
yeah. She's waiting till I get off here, and she'll just
Yeah.
At least my dignity will be intact. In 1963, on the 1st, in 1963, the 5-digit zip codes were introduced for the U.S. mail.
Interesting.
On the 2nd of July, it's National Anisette Day. Speaking of the anise flavored stuff, licorice or anisette, anisette is a liqueur, an aperitif made from anise. So it's got that licorice taste, basically. On the 2nd, in 1869, the Brig Novelty returns to Boston from Matanzas, Cuba. Speaking of our guests today, with 84,075 gallons of molasses shipped on a new principle, not in casks, but in bulk, in large tanks, and in excellent condition.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet that took a while to fill those.
Yeah.
Dang.
It was slow as molasses. On the second, in 1947, an identified weather balloon or unidentified alien spacecraft crashed near Roswell, New Mexico.
It was an alien. You know, it was an alien. You know, it was really an alien.
Yeah, I hope
Definitely
it was.
alien.
I really hope it was. In 1962, the first Walmart store, also known as Walmart Discount City, was opened in Rogers, Arkansas by brothers Sam and James Walton. I wonder if James Walton's family gets all the stuff like Sam's family gets. If they open it together, you know, everybody just calls it Sam's Club and all that stuff. I wonder what James got out of it.
You got to wonder.
I do. I wonder.
Oh, no.
I got another phone call there.
Inquiring minds.
Yes. It's a bank trying to tell me that they're opening my account. On the second in 1982, Larry Walters used 45 helium-filled weather balloons tied to an aluminum lawn chair to ascend to 16,000 feet above Long Beach. Several very perplexed commercial airline pilots reported seeing Larry sitting in his lawn chair in the sky to the Long Beach airport. The FAA fined him $4,000 for that, but later settled for $1,500.
Was he seat belted in, or was he just like hanging on for dear life?
I don't know. It would be a hard no for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just picturing he didn't get the balloons quite right, and suddenly he was sitting upright, and the next thing you know, he's upside down.
Yeah. Yeah, because you know how hard it is to sit like in those floats in the water, right? You get on it wrong and you just thump over. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Up and away in my beautiful balloon.
In 2009, on the second, Japanese angler Manabu Kurita caught a 22-pound, 5-ounce largemouth bass on Lake Biwa, Japan's largest lake, tying the 1932 record.
That's a big bass.
It is a big bass. That's a big-ass bass.
That's a big-ass bass right there. That's what that is.
On the 3rd of July, it's National Fried Clam Day.
Yum.
More on that in a second. It's also National Chocolate Wafer Day.
It's got chocolate in it, so it's better.
It's also National Eat Beans Day.
Okay, I like beans.
I have grown to like beans more. I used to be only green or pork and I have gone more. I've started to eat more pintos, and that surprises everybody in my family because, like onions, I have grown to really enjoy something that I grew up hating.
I've started doing black beans.
I like black beans too.
They're
like
really
them.
good. And I've got a ham bone left over from Easter that I'm going to use to make some stock and then make the black beans out of the stock.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be really good.
In 1608, on the 3rd, in Canada, the city of Quebec was founded by Samuel de Champlain. In 1916, on the 3rd, Lawrence Chubby Woodman is said to have invented the fried clam at his concession stand in Essex, Massachusetts. A local
How'd
fisherman.
you get that nickname?
Chubby. A local fisherman who liked Woodman's homemade potato chips suggested he fry up some of the clams, and he did, and it was a hit. In 1922, on the 3rd, Fruit Garden and Home magazine was founded. 2 years later, it was renamed Better Homes and Gardens. In 1924, on the 3rd, Clarence Birdseye, with the financial backing of W. Hodges, W. Gamage, B. Jones, I.L. Rice, and J.J. Berry, founded the General Seafood Corporation, the birth of the frozen food industry. In 2004, an Estonian couple won the World Wife Carrying Championships in the remote village of Javari, something, in Finland. The prize included the wife's weight in beer and a portable sauna.
Oh, that's something to go after.
Yeah.
All right, honey, I want to ask you to bulk up, but at the same time, I don't because I got to carry you that far.
That's kind of
But
scary.
can you drink a whole lot of extra water just before they weigh you?
Yes. On the 7/4 is the 4th of July. It's Independence Day. It's our 244th Independence Day. And by tradition, it's also National Barbecue Day, National Barbecued Spare Ribs Day, National Baked Beans Day, and for whatever reason, National Caesar Salad Day.
Oh,
Caesar salad was invented in Mexico, so I'm not exactly sure why it's Caesar Salad Day, but okay.
Well, they
Then
needed
again,
something
green.
They needed something green, yeah, to balance out all the
Well-
meat and beans.
Well,
I mean, is Caesar salad really such an amazing thing that it needs a whole day?
well, at the
I mean, come on
time,
now.
at the time,
It's a side salad.
well, at the time though, it was a big deal because it was just iceberg lettuce or other things put in a bowl with oil or whatever. The Caesar dressing is kind of complex, so I guess it was something. And my family, this Saturday, the 4th, will be the second time in about 5 years that on our Independence Day we are having a taco bar. So
You know what? Those are great when you've got a lot of people coming.
yeah,
They're so easy to do,
yeah,
and people love them.
yep.
Love a taco bar.
Let's see. On the 4th in 1817, construction began on the Erie Canal, which would connect the Great Lakes to the Hudson River, providing a water route to New York City and the Atlantic Ocean. In 1845, on the 4th, Henry David Thoreau begins his 2-year experiment with simple living at Walden Pond.
Nice.
In 1916, Nathan's of Coney Island hosted the first Nathan's hot dog eating contest. James Mullen ate 13 hot dogs and buns in 12 minutes.
Wow.
You wonder what he thinks now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that number's been surpassed.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that in a
Right.
minute. In 1918, on the 4th, identical twins Pauline Esther and Esther Pauline Friedman were born. Pauline Esther's pen name was Abigail Van Buren, and she wrote Dear Abby. Her sister,
Ah.
her twin, Esther Pauline, wrote the Ann Landers column.
Yeah.
In 1947, Margaret Rudkin opened the first modern Pepperidge Farm bakery in Norwalk, Connecticut. I thought it was older than that. In 1954, all food rationing finally ended in Britain, almost 9 years after the end of World War II.
Mm.
In 1956, at a 4th of July family picnic, Milton Levine came up with the idea for the ant farm. In 2006, Georges Duboeuf, a Beaujolais wine producer, was fined 30,000 euros for fraud when about 300,000 bottles of wine produced by his estate were found to have been illegally blended from different types of grape rather than a single source, which is important for Beaujolais. It's probably why Beaujolais sucks, because it does.
It needs to be blended.
Yeah, it needs something.
How do you really feel about that?
Yeah, it sucks like a Hoover.
I thought you were holding back on that. Maybe
Yeah.
you could let it go a little
Yeah.
more.
I should be honest. In 2018, on the 4th, Joey Chestnut set a new record in Nathan's famous international hot dog eating contest. He consumed 74 hot dogs in 10 minutes.
Instead of 13.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I eat fast. I do not eat that fast.
You can't have chewed.
No, he dips it in water, I think, and just swallows them. I think I watched him do
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
There's
So you
a
think all 74 of those are going to have to
yeah.
work
Go
their
through.
way
Well, I'm
through?
sure once the contest was over, he probably puked up about half of it.
Wow, that's insane.
That is nuts.
there's I can't remember his name, but I follow him on YouTube. He is a competition eater, and he will do stuff that just challenges. I think he eats healthy most of the time, but for these challenges, he goes stupid. The last one that I watched was Sour Patch Kids, or the worms, like the gummy worms, and it was eating 2,000 of them, and it ate the skin off his tongue. He was bleeding from his tongue. It was so much because of the sugar, the sugar, the sour, and the friction, because that stuff's hard.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah, and that was his second attempt at it. Second attempt. Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you. No. Even the thought of the 13 was like, oh man, that's it. 74.
74, yeah.
94.
On the 5th of July, it's National Apple Turnover Day.
Oh,
and
That's
it's
a good day. I
National
like apple turnovers.
and it's National Graham Cracker Day.
Mm.
I like graham crackers.
I love graham crackers. I love the cinnamons and the chocolate ones.
I like to put peanut butter on graham crackers.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm not
They
a
work very
s'mores
well.
fan. I like all the ingredients of s'mores separately. I do not like them together. For one, I don't want my marshmallow to be roasted. I like them raw.
Now, I will say the s'mores get a little better if you use the peanut butter on the graham cracker, then your chocolate and your marshmallow.
That's even more s'more.
It helps hold everything together too. Keeps the chocolate in place.
All right. More s'more
It's
for
very
Ray.
very tasty. Great alternative. Of course, graham crackers also make a great crust.
That's true.
Mhm.
That's true. And breading in the right ways for something
Yeah.
that's sweet. Yeah. In 1865, on the 5th, William Booth and his wife Catherine founded the Salvation Army.
Mm. They do good work.
Yep. In 1935, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed the National Labor Relations Act of 1935 into law. It guaranteed the right of employees to organize and form unions and to engage in collective bargaining.
It's a big deal right there.
Yep. In 1946, what was that? In 1946, the modern bikini swimsuit designed by Louis Reard first appeared at a poolside fashion show in Paris, modeled by Micheline Bernardini.
You have pictures?
I do not. I would like to see pictures of it, but I do not have them. In 1966, large hailstones fell on Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. One hailstone measured 1 foot in diameter.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, that's bigger than a basketball.
That's gonna hurt.
Oh, that's going to leave a mark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least a dent.
A big dent.
In 1996, on the 5th in Tennessee, a record catfish weighing 111 pounds was caught with a rod and reel. Also in 1996, Dolly, a sheep born in the Roslin Institute in Edinburgh, Scotland. Dolly was the first animal cloned from an adult animal. I thought it was a little earlier than that, but that does sound about right.
Yep. I remember when that happened.
In 2006, 3 people were arrested by the FBI for attempting to sell Coca-Cola trade secrets and recipes to Pepsi-Cola.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's treason right there, son. That's high treason. That's high treason right there.
Ah, treason. Well, that's all I have for food holidays and histories for this week. Special thanks to James Ealer at foodreference.com for making us chuckle, roll our eyes, and wonder about the tract that hot dogs have to take when eaten in mass quantities.
Yeah, I don't know that we want to learn that part of his strategy.
No.
Tell us about the regurgitation regimen that you've been on.
Tell us about the exit strategy.
Oh.
Because there better be one.
So the Man Who Ate the Town podcast is part of the Less Desirables podcast network. Along with this podcast, you can listen to Less Desirables, The Beer Dads, Fan Interference, Apartment 5B, Beeswax, Vinyl, and more. Sipping NC and Wheeler's Dog. You can find all these podcasts and our latest episodes on our network website and directory, tldpodnetwork.com. You'll also find social media links for each one there as well. We'd greatly appreciate if you visit our sponsors like Carrabba's Italian Grill, located 587 South Stratford Road. This is no chain. This is a responsible family of restaurants. Carrabba's and their owner partners take the communities they serve very seriously, and for us, having a fantastic franchisee like Daniel certainly does not suck. Follow Carrabba's on social media and on carrabbas.com. And it's
Are they
exciting.
doing in-person dining now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I ate there Father's Day.
Because somebody I know has a birthday coming up that Carrabba's might be a great place to treat her. Just saying.
Are you related to her?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Washington Perk and Provision Company is located at 301 West 4th Street. You will find a little bit of everything at the Perk, a chip corner, a deli to get your sandwich on the go, local fruits and veggies, meat and dairy from local sources, Bingo Bango sodas, Wolfie's custard, a wall of beer and wine, and more. Washington Perk is better than a convenience store, not quite a grocery store. On Facebook, it's Washington Perk, or at Washington Perk _DTWS on Instagram. The Humblebee shop is located at 1003 Brookstown Avenue in the west end of downtown. You've not had good until you've tasted the treats and goodies that Brittany is whipping up in her shop, be it muffins, cakes, macarons, and more. Many things that are vegan and gluten-free as well. The Humblebee shop wants to challenge your perception of scratch-made and leave you with an experience you couldn't possibly forget. For more information, follow them on Facebook and Instagram, or visit thehumblebeshop.co.
That's SHOPPE.co.
Oh, yeah. This is a reminder to all the listeners, and not just for now, but for always, and it's just good practice. Wash your damn hands. Wash with warm water and soap. Wash with the soap for about 20 seconds or more. Sing Country Roads, Take Me Home, Rocky Top.
You'll always be home, sweet home to me. Sorry. Grew up in East Tennessee. That's
Rocky Top.
Rocky Top, Tennessee.
That's right.
Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Well, keep an eye on the blog and this podcast to find out more about food news and happenings around town. If you have any food news, send us an email at Tim or Ray or Leah at themanwhoatetown.com. And you can also contact us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, instant messengers. Like us on Facebook. On Twitter, we are Man Who Number 8 the Town. On Instagram, we are Man Who Ate the Town. And now we invite you to call or leave a voicemail for the podcast. Actually, any podcast on the TLD network. You can call 336-422-6862. That's right, 336-422. Numb. Leave a voicemail and we'll play it on the podcast. Again, 336-422-NUMB. Well, thanks to Michael Mion for all that he talked with us today, and thank you to Leah and Ray. Ray, glad to have you back with us. I'm having a TV delivered, so if I'm a bit distracted, sorry.
Oh, well.
You can set it right there. It's fine.
Yeah, put that right there. Yeah. Right there. Yeah. A little bit to the left and a little more. Just perfect right there. Yeah, leave it right there.
Yep, that's great.
Just go ahead and plug that in. It's just right behind there.
Hand me the remote.
Yes.
I have the power.
Well, all right. Well, my name is Tim.
My name's Ray.
And I'm Leah.
And we're closing the recipe box. Until next time, thank you for reading and thank you for listening. Bon appetit. Yamas. The views and opinions stated by me or any of my guests are solely those of ours and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of our hosting companies, distributors, enemies, friends, or relatives. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced or distributed without express written consent of the Man Who Ate the Town, that's me, and Such Limited Inc. However, if you ask nicely, we'll probably let you.